Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Long Range Noob Podcast. Welcome back to the Long Range Noob Podcast. The podcast for people new to long range shooting, brought to you by people new to long range shooting. I am your co-host, Jace Leroy, and alongside me, as always, is Ryan Stuck in the Mud Danowski.
Oh yes. No,
And
not currently.
he knows
I'm
he
currently in
knows
my
why.
chair.
I had this big 30-minute apology ready to go for this episode, but Ryan won't let me give it.
No,
So
continue on.
everybody knows it's been a little longer than we wanted for this episode to come out, but we're here and we're making it happen, and we are going to continue to do our best to make it happen in the future. So today's episode is something that we've talked a little bit about in previous episodes, just mentioned here and there, but we're going to spend a whole episode on barrels. Oh boy. And
I'm excited.
Ryan's way excited. Ryan actually just got a fancy new barrel for his rifle.
I did.
And
Kind of in the process, or in the long wait between these episodes, I kind of switched over barrels on you guys. So you might have remembered that I used to be using a Tikka T3 308 barrel, just the stock barrel that was there, chambered in 308, 20 inches. Was a great shooter, it roughly about 1 minute of angle at 100 yards consistently. Not much better than that. But so that's a pretty good barrel, But with us in the long range noob, we strive for excellence, and so I decided to do a caliber switch just recently, and with that came a new barrel. Do you want me to just go ahead and talk about that, Jace?
Heck yeah, jump right into it.
Yeah, all right, let's do it.
Let's hear about this fancy barrel of yours.
Yeah, so some of you might have known that, or might have remembered my AR-15 that I switched over. I used a Krieger barrel for that one, and I had good success with that one. So, I thought, why spoil a good thing? For the bolt action, let's get another Krieger. So I ended up getting a 27-inch, I think it was an M24 profile.
The contour on that?
Yeah, the contour on that was just their M24 profile contour. Kind of a heavy barrel, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
And but it was the hole size, or the bore diameter was the 6.5. So I was gonna go with some sort of 6.5 round. And it's kind of interesting because this is the first time I've actually got a new barrel that hasn't been chambered or really had it, threaded or anything done to it, crowned, nothing.
Just a chunk of metal with a hole in it.
Just a chunk of metal with a rifled hole in it, basically. Yeah, is basically all they sent to me. So I had to get in touch with a couple gunsmiths here in the local area, and I talked to quite a few of them, and I ended up going with a company, the same company that I've been getting suppressors from. That's the Gun Vault in South Jordan, Utah. So great bunch of guys. I've worked with them quite a bit, and thought I'd continue to offer them my business. So, but they did a fantastic job. So they chambered it in 6.5 by 47 Lapua, which is the caliber I chose to kind of go to. Very similar to Jace's 260 Remington. Same bullet size. Case capacity is a little less, but it does have some features like a small primer and what's the 20
well,
degree
it's got that
neck?
it's got that sharper shoulder on it.
Yeah, the sharper shoulder. So it's a sharper angle, which actually helps the brass casing not stretch so much when you're resizing it.
Yeah, it's more rigid, right?
It
helps
I believe it does have like a higher tolerance for pressure.
Yeah.
But less case capacity.
I'm gonna look into that a little bit more, because I know that's a feature that is kind of has been getting more and more popular with long range shooting rounds. So anyway, Sorry to knock you off the rails there.
Oh, yeah, no, that's okay. But back to barrels. So, so I ended up getting the barrel chambered in that particular caliber, and then they fit it to my action. Uh, they crowned uh, the crown, I guess.
Crown the crown. So the
Yes, they
crown's like
crowned.
at the end of the barrel.
Yeah,
Um, and it's really
where
important because it's the last place your bullet is going to be engaging before it leaves. So um, if if you damage the crown of your barrel, dropping it in the dirt or something along those lines, you can
on a
really,
rock or something.
yeah, you can really jack up your accuracy. So
Hmm.
it's important to have not just a crown, but have somebody who knows what they're doing.
Right.
Work on your rifle as well.
Yeah, and they did a great job, so I've been really pleased with it. But they crowned it, and then they they threaded it, and then they actually timed the threads to match my muzzle brake. So that was pretty cool. And then yeah, then installed it in the action, and that was that. So it was great.
Yeah, and it's a shooter. Um,
Yeah.
I've seen Ryan shooting sub half inch groups, somewhere around, I mean, just eyeballing it close to a quarter in some cases. And we were out shooting a couple weeks ago.
Hmm.
We got stuck in a bog for the first half of the day. First half
We
of the day was
did.
raining, and we avoided a big puddle in the road, thinking that it was impassable, and we ended up stuck off the side of the road. And it turned out that the puddle was nothing more than just a puddle, and the surface underneath it was actually pretty much just
Our-
gravel and
Yeah.
easy to drive across. So we spent half our day stuck in the mud. Luckily,
Digging ourselves out and
yeah, we were rescued. A couple of friends of Ryan's came out with a truck, um, cans, and uh,
Shaylee is in it.
Shaylee,
Yep.
and
Kens and Shaylee.
we put Shaylee down on Ryan's gun, and she was hitting. What was it? 3 out of 5 shots on a target that was
And
780
yeah, 80 yards.
yards. Now she's shot before. She's not a stranger to weapons or guns and shooting in general, but that's still pretty impressive to plop somebody down behind a rifle and have them hitting out 780 yards, 3 out of 5 times.
Yeah, on the
So
basically the first time that she had been on that rifle.
yeah, for
So
sure. And
now, and obviously, I read out the ballistics calculations and
yeah,
said this is where you need to be. This is the wind. So aim here and you'll be close, or if not a hit.
mhm.
And it just hit, hit, hit.
Yeah,
So
very very good rifle, shooting extremely well. So Ryan and I are both shooting 6.5 caliber bullets, um, and fun is being had by all.
yeah, it's great.
So I have a 20-inch barrel,
Hmm.
and you have now upgraded to a 27-inch barrel.
I actually got it. It originally came 27 inches. I did have them cut it down to 25,
Oh,
though.
that's right. So now it's 25,
It is 25.
25 inches. So let's talk a little bit about barrel length and kind of the different topics that surround that. And obviously, I think the first couple of topics that come to mind would be the velocity and the accuracy.
Yeah.
And I think, and this may come from like Civil War days when you had longer barrels. They were considered more accurate because they could put a round out further. Um, and obviously, the invention of riflings made a huge impact.
Hmm.
And I grew up under that kind of same influence, thinking that it was either a longer barrel or you know you you
Like
just
that's
weren't.
what you needed
Yeah,
to have
you had to
accuracy.
have it. You had to
Right.
have not just accuracy but also muzzle velocity. And um, it wasn't until just recently that I've learned that's you definitely do get more muzzle velocity out of a longer barrel. That's just physics. There's more
Yeah.
time for the explosion to act on the projectile
Powder
inside the barrel.
burn. Yeah.
It's just not nearly as much as I thought it was, and I've been really surprised at um, the speeds I've been able to get out of a 20-inch barrel compared to like my 300 Win Mag that was a 27-inch hunting rifle. So it had the 27-inch thin contour barrel on it, and I get about 2,720 feet per second
Hmm.
out of my current load, and that's pretty much a max load that I'm using for that. And I know I could push it further. I just don't want to because I don't want to, burn my barrel out quicker than I need to, and I obviously don't want to be dealing with pressure issues inside the chamber and messing up my brass or blowing primers out the back or anything like that. So that's if I'm around, I want my goal is around 2,700 feet per second. That's where I'm at. So I'm really happy with that. Ryan, he's got a 27-inch or 25-inch barrel, and you're using a little bit less powder than me grain wise, and you're getting what 2850.
Actually about 28.
So
So
around 28.
yeah,
Uh,
2800
so
flat.
there's definitely, and that's with less powder. So
Yeah, less
uh,
powder.
less powder, and he's getting about 80 feet per second more. I found a chart online. It's called thetruthaboutguns.com, and they have a muzzle velocity and accuracy big write up on a bunch of tests they did, and it's pretty eye opening to look at the difference between. I mean, the difference between a 13 and a half inch barrel and a 26-inch barrel. So you're talking a barrel that's twice as long. The 13 and a half inch barrel gets 2,390 feet per second, while the 26-inch barrel's at 2,700. So a little over 300 feet per second difference by doubling the barrel length. So not a ton. So you kind of just got to weigh what you want out of your rifle. If muzzle
Mhm.
velocity is super important, you're probably going to want to go to a little bit longer barrel. If it's not as important, um, then you can probably. I mean, some people go 16-inch barrels on long range shooting guns. So I think that's way short.
Yeah.
And I've never tried it before, but I have seen it, and the barrel barely sticks out past the stock. Um, but I've been surprised. I was a little nervous about getting our Tikas in the first place because they're 20-inch barrels.
Right,
Um,
pretty short.
yeah, I did a lot of
But
research. That's actually what started me on this research. Was I was a little worried about a 20-inch barrel, um, but yeah, I've been pleased with it for sure.
yeah, yeah. I mean, um, when I was actually getting this new barrel, I went back and forth on, well, do I want, just use the whole 27 inches, or do I want to cut it down to like 22 or even a 20? Um, and I don't know. I think it was literally like I was there at the counter and the guy was, we were filling out the
Getting
paperwork
ready to saw it.
and, and I just started asking people, "What do you think? What should I put on, for the length?" And one guy, I think he said, "Oh, you need, keep it all at 27 inches. That's what you want. You want it as long as it can be." The other guy down next to me, he was saying, "Oh, I really like the short, stout barrels. The stouter it is, the less kind of wave you get. So put it at a 20-inch barrel." And and
Oh my gosh.
even in a gun store, they are
Oh,
basically fighting.
I think it's
Oh yeah,
highly debated
it's
in the
very
gun
much debated.
community. And
Yeah.
there's people who swear on length and people who say longer is better, you got to have it. And there's people who say no, go shorter. Um,
Hmm.
and and I think as long as you understand
What
what you,
it's doing and
yeah,
what
like
the
you are
yeah.
going to get some more muzzle velocity out of it. Is that what you want?
Hmm.
If you want that max muzzle velocity, um, then you're going to
That's what
want to
you need
go,
to do.
yeah, you're going to want to go with the longer barrel. Um, so you kind of just went in the middle a little bit,
Yeah, I was like, well, take
leaning a
off
little
two
on the long.
inches. Yeah, just for a little bit extra velocity.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't think I wanted that full 27 inches because I will be running a suppressor on it.
Yes,
When
that's
that
another
comes
good
in,
good point.
right? When
You
it
s-
comes in,
How long
and
is your suppressor? Do you know?
9 inches.
Nine
So
inches on top of 25.
9 inches
So you're
on
gonna
top of
be
25. I'm gonna be sticking out there.
you're gonna be hanging out there a little bit. But I and I could be wrong about this because I didn't do any research. I would imagine that the suppressor is going to be quieter on a longer barrel.
Yeah,
Would
I,
that
I
would that be
believe.
because there's more time for dispersion and
Hmm.
so I would think if you put my gun and your gun side by side with the same suppressor on it, yours would actually have lower decibels and it might be one or two, but that one or two decibels is significant. So um,
Hmm.
I would imagine that it would be quieter. We might have to test that out and see
Yeah.
if it's a
Well,
noticeable difference.
if we've shot my 22 suppressor quite a
Hmm.
bit, and I have noticed, on a longer barrel, it does make it just a little bit quieter.
Hmm.
Um, not like a whole lot,
Yeah,
but
and it might be
you
harder
can
to
definitely
tell with that
tell,
one.
especially with the 22, just
Yeah,
because
it's already
the
way quiet.
lack of noise anyway. So, um, but yeah, like sticking it on, like say my rifle rather than my pistol,
Yeah,
um, yeah,
huge difference.
you can definitely hear the difference. But yeah, but anyways, um, yeah. So I ended up going with the 25 inch, and I've been liking it so far. I think that'll do all right for what I want to do. So I'm getting enough velocity with 28, 100 feet per second, and so that's just fine with me.
Well,
So
yeah, and it all boils down to you're shooting incredible groups with it, so there's
yeah,
nothing to be wanting. There's not a lot of room there to improve anyway.
oh
So
sure,
I think you've got yourself into a good situation.
yeah. I'm very pleased with it, more than happy. So yeah. Is there anything else we want to talk about with length? Um,
Now I want to talk about twist rate,
okay.
which is the measure. And I know we have discussed this a little bit, but it's the measurement of the riflings um,
Hmm.
inside your barrel. So, Ryan, if you want to explain to us what the difference between like a 1 in 8 twist versus a 1 in 10 twist. Uh,
Oh, this is where you caught me off guard last time. And
yes,
yes. Okay, let me see if I remember. So,
you take the
um,
wheel.
you have for nine. So if you have like a 1 in 9 twist, so for every 9 inches
Hmm.
of barrel, you will have one twist, one full twist.
Yes, sir.
Correct? Yes. And so in like a 1 in 8 twist or 1 in 7 twist, for every 7 inches of barrel, you'll have one whole twist, and so that would be a faster twist rate
Hmm.
than the 1 in 9 or like a 1 in 12 or what have you. So, um, and twist rate is basically just for uh, stabilizing your projectile, and the size and length and weight of that projectile largely will dictate what twist rate you have. And the larger the projectile, um, I believe the faster the twist rate is what you
Bravo,
want.
sir.
Yeah, I think that was it. Is that what we
See,
covered from last time?
Ryan has the capability to learn. This is proof. Yeah,
This is
so
proof.
I think you want to match a projectile weight to your twist rate, or vice versa. Before you buy a gun, you might want to think about the projectiles you want to shoot. And the reason you want to think about that is because um, each bullet's going to have its own ballistic coefficient. So it's basically the ability of the rounds that the round has to cut through the air with the least amount of resistance. So the higher the ballistic coefficient, the more efficiently it flies through the air, and the flatter it flies. Um, Most higher BC bullets are heavy. They're heavier. So heavier bullets generally have better BCs, and that means you're going to want a twist rate that matches it. So, and the reason you need a twist rate that matches it, you just think about it like a football. If you throw a football, you want to get a nice spin on it. It's going to go further and it's going to go more accurate. If it's wobbling in the air, or what we would call destabilized, then it's not going to fly as straight. It's not going to fly as far or be as accurate. So, um,
Or as fast.
yeah, and it's very possible to be shooting projectiles out of your gun that just will not stabilize, um, and this can be caused by having the wrong twist rate matched up with the round you're shooting. So, if you're shooting a heavier, say you're shooting a a 308, 1 in 10 twist, I would say is pretty common. So you have one twist per 10 inches. And uh, I would imagine most people shoot anywhere between a 168 grain all the way up to a 208 grain, or, somewhere around 200 grain bullet. If you went with a really, really light bullet, say for more muzzle velocity, uh, it might not stabilize correctly through a 1 in 10. You might want a barrel that's a 1 in 12 twist. And some people like that. They like to have a lighter bullet that doesn't really have the ballistic coefficient, but they can get, screaming velocity.
Yeah, the initial speed way up there.
Yeah, I know my dad's 300 Weatherby. If he
Hmm.
shoots a if he shoots a 90 grain bullet out of it, he can get muzzle velocity up to like 3,800. And it's crazy fast, and he hunts with it, and so it's got a lot of energy when it gets to the target, but he's not shooting it past 400 yards. Hunting
Oh,
mule
sure, if that.
deer, elk, and animals here in Utah, generally, unless you're trying to set yourself up for a long shot, you can get within 150 200 yards quite easily. And
Mm.
so that's one thing to consider with twist rate. I've been preferring faster, on the faster end of twist rates, because I do like the high BC bullets. um, I know Burger bullets, they make um, I think they're called VLDs, which is very low drag, and
Mhm.
they're they make several different versions of these for different calibers, but they're generally on the heavier end for the caliber. Like for my 260, 140 grains is on the higher end, and that's what you'll need a quicker. And I got a 1 in 8 twist for my barrel,
Yeah.
and
Um,
so a 1
yeah,
in 10
mine's
twist
a
probably wouldn't stabilize that nearly as well as the 1 in 8.
yeah, mine's actually a 1 and 7.7 is what the Krieger barrels.
Yeah, nice. So
Uh,
yours
yeah,
definitely tuned in
just
to shoot those heavier, higher BC bullets.
yeah.
So that's pretty much what twist rate is, and it's again, it's a ratio. When you see that number like 1 in 8 or 1 in 10, 1 in 12, that's just the how many inches of your barrel the round needs to travel before it makes one complete revolution inside, or twist inside. And the heavier bullets require more of that because it needs to get spinning more out the barrel. If it's a light bullet and it spins too fast, it's going to destabilize. So it's going to need a slower twist rate out of the barrel. And that's something I never even considered when I bought my first rifle. I just assumed they were all the same, um, and that was something that I learned down the road. But definitely worth noting. Something also worth noting with barrels is the contour, and I can't believe how many different contours there are. I think every barrel manufacturer has their own contours. I figured there'd be a few different types, but there's a lot. But basically, what it comes down to is a thin contour or a thick contour, and then everything in between. And that's the thickness of your barrels, what we're talking about, or the shape when we say contour. And Ryan, I know your barrels. You said that was the M24
Yeah, M24 contour. I guess
contour.
it's supposed to be patterned after the M24 sniper rifle from the military
Yeah, and it's pretty
that they
thick,
use
right?
there in the army. Yeah, it is fairly thick and heavy. It's heavy. So I mean, my gun weight probably has gone up. Uh, I don't know, 2 pounds, if not more, just from extra barrel weight. So
It is a little on the heavy side. Well,
yeah,
And when you compare it, Articas were really light when we
Hmm.
first got them, because they're a synthetic stock and 20-inch barrel, so fairly on the light side. So yours feels heavier than mine by a
Oh,
long ways, but mostly because mine's on the light end. So
yeah, yeah. Um, yeah, I actually I did upgrade to a wooden stock as well. Um, if you can call that an upgrade from synthetic. But
yeah, I don't know. I think it depends. You got a Boyd stock, and
yeah,
I've owned a Boyd stock in the past, and I really liked it. They're not very expensive.
no,
I think mine is like $100, maybe 110.
yeah, mine was about $100, and then I had to do a lot of work on it to get it up to snuff.
Yeah,
But yeah,
you had to
but
spray it with some spray cans,
that's right, I did that.
of course.
No, I actually steel pillar bedded it, um, and then I actually bedded the action on top of that. So it's got the steel pillars in there, and then a glass bedding on the action, and it's really nice and tight in there, and got the action screws torqued down to, I don't know, what did we torque it to, like 60 foot-pounds?
Uh, yeah, I think we
I think is what
checked
we
it.
did.
I think I put it like my wrench at 55, or it was at 55, and you tested it, and it broke. Or the
Yeah,
When I say
without.
break, the wrench breaks at a certain poundage you set it to, so you can't go over it.
Hmm.
Um, and I know that's really high for wooden stocks, but yours is pillar bedded,
Right.
and so I think that's a little different. You definitely want to check with like your manufacturer and your setup when you're tightening, and the reason you want to make sure, you just want consistency out of that. So
Yeah. Oh
um,
yeah.
if you just tighten them down by hand and you don't really know, then the next time if you ever need to take your action apart or your stock off and then you put it back together, you want to make sure you get it back to the original poundage, just for accuracy purposes. Because if you tighten it 10 pounds heavier or lighter the next time, then you might see a change in accuracy. And you just want to make everything as consistent as possible,
Hmm.
especially with long range shooting, uh, just because you want to be able to repeat everything as closely as possible every time you pull the trigger. Um, and you used JB Weld, didn't you, for the bedding?
I did. I used JB Weld for the
And
bedding.
it looks really
Uh,
good.
it came out fantastic actually.
Yeah.
It's my second bedding job that I've ever done. Both of them actually were JB Weld, and the first one turned out real well. It was on a little 22,
Oh, that's
uh,
right.
kind of to practice with, I guess, and it was on a wooden stock as well, and that came out real well, and I guess JB Weld has a lot of really good properties for bedding, for being like a bedding compound. Like you don't get, I think like the shrinkage on it is like is like less than like 0.1%. It's like really small. Um, so because you don't want any
You don't want
shrinkage.
shrinkage.
No, you don't want
Just
shrinkage.
ask George Costanza. He'll tell you all
Yes,
about it.
tell you all about it. Yeah, so you don't want any shrinkage in your bedding. Um, yeah,
I'm a child.
yes. But yeah, it's really hard and tough. Oh boy, it's a tough substance.
Okay.
Uh,
All right. I'm gonna calm down. Everybody calm down. What were we talking about before Ryan got all weird and dirty?
right,
Uh,
bedding,
no, before that,
shrinkage,
contour. We're talking about contour.
contour,
Quickly, just to
contour.
recap contour a little bit. The reason you might want a heavier, thicker barrel, because some people might ask, why would you get that if it's really heavy? Because mine, even though my barrel's 20-inch, it does have a thicker barrel on it, and it is heavier than, like, say, a hunting contour, which is
Scott
kind of
Kirk.
that thin. Ryan.
Just kidding. Sorry, I just had to. Okay. Anyway, back to your
Okay,
contour.
so uh, the I didn't understand that with contour comes uh, barrel whip and harmonics. So
Hmm.
if you jump on YouTube and search for like some high speed uh, rifles being shot. When I say high speed, I mean slow motion. So filmed with a high speed camera. Um, if it's like 1,000 frames or more per second, like I'm talking real slow motion, not like iPhone slow motion, but extremely slow. Um, you'll see the rifle bend in ways that you just didn't think was. It looked like Jello. Like the metal flexes and bends, and the barrel basically whips. So it has a wave that runs all the way down it, probably multiple times if you get really down to like the microscopic level. But when you shoot, your barrel whips. And if you think about that, um,
It's not
your
good for accuracy.
yeah, because if your barrel's
Yeah.
whipping in an upward motion as your bullet leaves the end of it, then that's going to affect where it's going. And conversely, if it's on the down swing of the whip, when your barrel or when your bullet leaves. Now,
Well, it's really in a 360 degree kind of
yeah,
motion
it
almost.
probably does
Yeah.
kind of a just a crazy spin. Um, and the thing about it is it's going to happen, but you want consistency. It comes back to that
Hmm.
consistency, and um, you want to find where your rifle is shooting the best in terms of like when people do hand loads and load data, they look they're looking for accuracy nodes, and this definitely plays a role in that. So it's not just your powder bullet primer combination, but it is also how your barrel whips under that particular load.
Hmm.
So if you have a really thin, long barrel, which most hunting rifles have because they're a lot easier to maneuver. They're lighter, um, and a lot of people like that muzzle velocity, so they go with the longer barrels. They have a lot of barrel whip, and so I don't think you're going to see a lot of thin contoured um, barrels like at a competition.
We will return to your scheduled programming shortly, or we are currently experiencing technical difficulties.
We're back. This is day 3
Day 3 of the record.
of the recording that we've been struggling with for episode 5. Uh, I'm sure it'll be pretty apparent when this occurs in the episode. You can probably tell just by uh, I don't know, the cadence of our voice and things of that nature. But Ryan's computer crashed
The first time.
the first time,
Yeah.
and he lost his half of the recording. I have mine, but I also record a backup recording of our Skype conversation, which records both sides. Uh, that failed us last night. So we tried again. So basically, his computer malfunctioned the first night. Skype recording failed last night. And so we're back at it tonight, trying to finish it up. So
We're just loving it.
we're gonna, we're dedicated. It's gonna happen. We were pretty much done with the episode. We had a couple more things we wanted to hurry and talk about. Um, the first, which is fluting, barrel fluting,
Mm.
which is Ryan, why don't you go ahead and describe
Oh, sure. Yeah,
to them
yeah.
what the process is?
Well, or maybe not necessarily the process, but the reasoning behind it.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah. So barrel fluting. Basically, you're removing material from your barrel, usually in a nice pattern, a spiral perhaps, or a twist, or sometimes just straight cuts.
Hmm.
Um, and it gives it definitely an aesthetic appeal, to a lot of barrels, makes them look really cool. um, Also reduces the weight, which is a big concern, especially on some of those big heavy bull barrels, like the one that I just purchased. It's definitely weighty in your hands, and if you're hiking around a lot, moving a lot around with your firearm, it can be a little taxing over time. um, but there's also some kind of misconceptions, I think, about fluting. Um, Jace, I don't know. Do you want to? I mean, what do
Yeah,
you know
I
about fluting?
so it was something I was really looking into
Hmm.
because I've seen a few guns with fluting, and you'll see them just at the store, brand new. Sometimes they have fluting on the barrel, and I've seen it on the action or the bolt as well.
Oh
And
yeah.
I always thought it was really cool looking, but I didn't really know much about it aside from just I always just thought it was for looks, um,
And it kind of is,
and it
you
kind
know.
of is. I started reading into it, but I started seeing people talk about that people arguing on forums and different things online that it made the barrel more rigid and it made it lighter, which it obviously does. People are saying it makes their gun more accurate and saying that it disperses heat better. There's all these people claiming that it would do this and people saying that they're crazy and they don't know what they're talking about. And so um, I
We looked
think,
into it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and to me, listening to there's several different YouTube channels online, people that I have come to trust because their information always seems to be accurate, especially when I apply it in the real world. So I kind of trust what they're talking about, and I've come across a few that have basically debunked many of the fluting arguments that I've come across, and they make sense. Like when I apply common sense to the notion, then like I've talked to Ryan about this before.
Oh yeah.
We had a little discussion before the episode, and this when he told me this, it just kind of made sense that if you remove material from something, it's going to become less rigid no matter what. And that does make sense, regardless of what shape or pattern or how you go about doing it. You just,
How
if you,
cool it looks.
yeah, if you're
Yeah.
removing material, it's going to make your barrel weaker. Um, it certainly won't make it stronger.
Yeah.
And when it comes to the heat dispersion thing, uh, less if you have less material, then your barrel's going to heat up faster. It might disperse it quicker as well, but it's going to heat up quicker. If you have more metal, it's going to take longer for the barrel to get hot, and it might take longer for it to cool off. So to me, that's kind of evens out. It might just depend on the type of shooting you're doing.
Yeah, when
Um,
some people talked about surface area and how it increases your surface area, and because of that, you have more, I guess, of a wicking effect of the wind or air current, wicking heat away, and maybe,
yeah, it just seems like it would be a small amount to me. If you're
if
gonna
any.
if you're gonna flute a barrel, do it because you think it looks cool or aesthetically is pleasing to you.
Mhm.
Um, but
Don't do it for accuracy gains or
yes,
any sort of, this will be more rigid and
or more
stronger
accurate.
yeah.
So do it because it looks cool and because it removes weight, because it certainly can shed some ounces off of your overall weight. I don't know if you could squeeze a full pound out of it. I guess that just depends on how much is removed, and um, but I probably could have a noticeable difference in weight depending on the type of fluting. But beyond that, to me, it just seems like something that you're paying money to have done for no reason.
Yeah.
So
I mean, unless it kind of turns you on, it's cool, you
yeah,
know.
that's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
if aesthetically, I think it does look cool. I think some rifles and barrel combinations just look awesome when they have the bolt fluted and the barrel fluted. Um,
Yeah.
but
Oh, now one thing I did want to say with fluting, if you have um, a barrel that is just originally a skinny barrel,
mhm.
just out the door, just skinny, versus a barrel of the same weight that was maybe at one point a full bull barrel, which has then been fluted. Maybe you might see some gains there as far as rigidness.
Oh, I see.
Um, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but you're not. I mean, you're still gonna be less rigid than if you would have just left it alone, and not fluted it.
Yeah,
So,
so you're
so
basically comparing a fluted bull barrel, so a heavy barrel, it's fluted, compared to a kind of a hunting contour, the thin barrel. The fluted one is probably going to have some advantages over that thin one.
yeah, because I mean, you'll well, it maybe not same weight, but you'll still probably have more material
More
in the
rigidity.
fluted one. Yeah, and more rigidity because of that in the fluted one. Just it depends obviously on how you flute it. and how much you take out. But really, just the take home away or the take away from this, anytime you're removing material from a barrel, you're definitely going to be removing strength and
Yeah.
rigidity. So
Well,
take
I'd
that
love
as
to
well.
hear from anyone out there, any of the listeners who have fluted barrels. Um,
Or disagree with us,
Yeah,
in any
yeah,
way.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Particularly anyone who had a barrel that they shot and got used to, and then they had fluted, and then had to become accustomed with the new fluted version of their barrel. And let us know if there's anything you noticed that was a good advantage over the things that we've talked about. Because real world application beats hearsay every time.
Guessing.
So
Oh, sure, definitely.
um, yeah, that's I think that pretty much covers fluting in all the aspects that we understand it. Um, I know you also wanted to talk about barrel linings.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure. Because I mean, you've got let's see, a couple types of barrels. You have a plain stainless steel, which does not have a lining in it. You have a chrome lined barrel, which they line it with chrome because it's harder, it's stronger than the steel, and will resist wear. Wear and tear more readily than the steel will.
Hmm.
Then you've also got just like a chrome moly, which is not the same as a chrome lined, um, but that, and I don't exactly know. I know that the chrome lined is harder, but the chrome moly I believe is still harder than steel, just the stainless steel. And so you definitely get less wear and tear on that, but not as much less as the chrome lined. So I know those are different.
Well, and
And I know there's
I didn't know about all these magical linings.
yeah, there's like, and I think there's a nitride lining that's out there. So there's a couple of them, and they um, there's all different sorts of different types. But I guess the main point of the lining is actually to uh, decrease wear and tear.
So
Um,
basically, extend the life of the barrel.
yeah. I guess that's the point of the linings,
Okay.
extending the life of the barrel. The downside, though, and where a stainless steel barrel really shines,
I see what you
is
did there.
you. Oh yes, it it shines. Yeah, is that you don't lose any accuracy without a lining with stainless steel. I mean, you basically when you apply a lining, um, as smooth as you can get it, it's not going to be as uh, I guess flush, I guess,
Hmm.
as like a regular stainless steel. At least as far as I've been able to tell.
Well, it
You'll
makes
have
sense because it's just you're
yeah,
adding another component.
you're adding some material on there, and
So,
it'll create like hills and valleys kind of in your rifling.
mhm.
Not, I mean, you should be able to look at it and you couldn't be able to tell with your eye, but on the kind of the microscopic level, you're going to have these bumps and divots, basically from uneven lining,
Hmm.
which is just going to happen. Um, I don't believe there's any way they can really get around that. So, if you're going straight for accuracy, I believe in a barrel you'll want stainless steel every time.
Hmm.
Um, I'm not sure if there's anything that's better than that. As far as I've been able to tell, no. Um, but if any, again, if anyone has any information on that, please let us know.
Yeah, because like I said, I didn't even know that there was different types of linings in barrels, and so I'd love to hear from anyone who has something aside from stainless steel and what their takeaway is on that. It would seem to me, I would agree that if anytime you're adding another component to your rifle, no matter what it is, that's one more thing that also could I
One
guess
more variable.
function. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
another variable that could function negatively towards accuracy. Um, and it's what I've learned about barrels is that obviously when it's machined at the factory, no matter how tight the tolerance, no matter where it's done, you can't avoid tiny little pockets basically, where there's, like you said, there's going to be hills and little valleys and
Imperfections. Yeah.
imperfections throughout. And from what I've understood, that the great thing about shooting copper jacket bullets is that copper strips away as you shoot inside of your barrel, and it fills in or evens out the high spots and fills in the low spots. So a lot of times, if you buy a brand new rifle and you're going through your break-in process, you're gonna notice that your rifle becomes more accurate, um, to a point. If you never clean it or don't do anything with it, eventually your groups are going to start to open back up. So they'll start kind of big and they'll close up, and then after time goes on, if you don't maintain your rifle, those groups generally are going to open back up until you clean out the fouling to an extent. And I think there's an equilibrium there you want to find. I know some competition shooters, before every competition, they will completely strip their barrel and make it like new. They'll strip out all the copper, all the carbon fouling, so that every match they're starting with basically a mirror perfect um, barrel. But that's just because they want that consistency. Um, I think I've had the advice given to me: shoot your rifle the way that you want to shoot it, and if you don't want to strip it out and clean it every time you go shooting, then don't. And I think that's great advice, because I feel like your rifle will get used to being shot the way that the way that you shoot it, and then you can count on that consistency based on the way that you go about shooting your gun. So I like to keep mine semi-clean. After every time I shoot it, I like to run a few patches through it, and then after I've shot several hundred rounds, I like to put a little bit of the copper cleaning solutions. There's a bunch of them, and I put it on a nylon brush, and give it a little bit of a scrape job inside, and then run some patches through that, and just kind of keep that. That's kind of my equilibrium.
Yeah.
And
And,
so,
everyone kind of has their own,
absolutely,
equilibrium. Like
yeah.
me, for example, I just run a bore snake through it, maybe once or twice after every session.
Hmm.
Nothing big, but I don't know. Every once in a great while, I'll probably use a little bit of um, like a spray in,
Like
uh,
some hoppies
bar,
or.
yeah, or just something to remove the fouling.
Mhm.
But I found that a bore snake, just one or two passes, and it's just like a mirror shine, um, and that's good enough for me. I
Well,
don't.
and it comes down to, if your gun's shooting accurately,
Yeah,
there's no reason to do anything differently.
yeah,
You start to notice. I'm sure if Ryan shoots 1,000 rounds and starts to notice his groups aren't quite as good as they were, maybe months before, he might, clean it up a little bit more. But
yeah.
there's no reason to do anything different if it's working.
Oh,
So,
sure.
so back to the barrel linings. It seems like if you add this other component in there, it might make your barrel last longer. But I could see where it could also make it less accurate, less consistent.
hmm
So, but yeah, I would love to hear from anyone who owns uh, a barrel with a lining in it, and their kind of their take on it.
Yeah. No, that's great. So, but yeah, you know, do your research, yourself, definitely. Um, we can only provide suggestions based on our knowledge
Well,
and
whatever we say is
it's
correct, is what
yeah, it's
that's
basically
the
what we're
motto
saying.
of this podcast.
But but yeah, so um,
Is there
yeah,
anything
barrel
else? I feel
linings.
like
I
there's
mean, we
one
could
other
talk
thing.
about
Maybe not.
like rifling methods, cold hammer
Oh,
forging
that's right. That was the one. Yes, and
versus
which is something
button.
else I don't know anything about.
Yeah.
So give it to me, Ryan.
Well, I know
Learn me.
that there's like a button method, and basically they have um, a I don't know, a little disc basically that goes through your bore, and it spins and actually carves out the rifling as it's spinning all the way through your bore, and it does multiple passes, um, and is just carving out the rifling just as it passes. Um, that apparently is a very accurate method of of making a barrel. It's more cost prohibitive, I guess, or it costs more to do that than some other methods. Cold hammer forging is another. It's actually a great method. Doesn't produce as accurate as a results, but it's still very accurate.
Hmm.
Um, but basically, with that is they've got, and this is how I believe it works. I've kind of researched it a bit and read about it, but and I might not be 100% correct on exactly how it works. But basically, um, it's stamping the barrel on a into like a position. So it's like you you place the blank in a little chamber and a bunch of uh, I guess hammers, basically, for lack of a better word, pound the barrel
I'm picturing some
into
funny stuff right now.
yeah into it pounds the barrel into its twist rate and into grooves, and so those grooves form by pounding, forging it into that way. So it's cold, it's not applying heat, it's just pure force that's just pushing the metal in to make those grooves. So I imagine they have some sort of rod that goes into the barrel that has like the mirror opposite of the grooves, the rifling grooves, and so
Hmm.
it gets pounded then into that, and then that gets taken out, and you're left with the grooves. Um,
Okay. So you're
you
saying
know what I
like
mean?
there's like a some kind of patterned
Yeah,
rod that goes down
like
into the bore,
and then it
and
gets
then
compressed onto there
just
just
kind of
by
like Play-Doh on the
yeah
outside, it gets smashed
mm,
um into
rod
this
or
yeah,
this
the
fixture.
and then that probably has to twist out once
Hmm.
it's been. Huh,
Pound
interesting. So
place. Yeah, and I guess that was developed in World War II by the Germans, but apparently it's
it's
pretty
crafty
accurate.
Germans.
Oh, they're crafty. So yeah, but yeah, I guess like they get really consistent results with that, though not quite as accurate though, or as consistent as the button rifling.
So I imagine it was probably a very accurate solution during World War II,
Oh,
but
sure.
has since been passed up by other forms or other
Uh,
methods
you
of.
know, it's still used a lot in today. A lot of AR-15 barrels or AK-47 barrels, which are definitely
Interesting.
known for their accuracy,
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah.
the
Oh yeah. Everybody
AR-15,
knows that.
right? But yeah, a lot of the uh, oh, let's see, um, AR-15 barrels, are cold hammer forged, and then usually those are chrome moly, uh, lined.
Lined.
Yeah. Um, So yeah, so that's the other way. There was one more that I knew about, and this is actually just because I bought a Krieger. This is what they do, and it's actually called a single point cut rifling, and um, I believe that it's like a button, but instead of doing all the grooves, um, it they do several hundred passes with one cutter, and I guess it approves or it removes like approximately like a 10,000th of an inch on each pass, and so after several hundred passes, it finally has a groove.
Yowza.
I guess yeah, so it takes a long time, um, but I guess that method kind of um, provides almost perfect concentricity between the
Ooh.
bore and the groove. Yeah, so it's supposed to be very accurate. It doesn't induce as much stress into the steel that because that's one thing you have to watch for is stresses being induced into steel, and then they have to go in and heat it up and relieve those stresses. Um,
Send it
so
to the spa.
yeah, send it to the spa. You got to get relieved. So, um, and then I know they also hand lap the barrel, and that's just basically hand taking a almost like a cloth or just like a something that'll just finish give a nice finish to the barrel, and they just hand run that through over and over until it gets that nice finish. So, um, but yeah, so that's kind of at least what I know about the rifling process and different types of methods. all are fairly accurate, but and I think there's still maybe others, but um,
Yeah, it's a topic I'd like to learn more about because I just don't know that
yeah,
much about. I mean, as far as the contour and the twist rate and things of that nature, I'm getting a pretty good grasp on. But the way they're machined and how that can affect accuracy and lifespan, those are things that I still would like to learn more about. So,
still a little bit of a mystery. So even to me too. So, but I thought I'd just kind of share
well, when you
you know.
start saying things like they put the barrel in a room and a bunch of little hammers come out and start hitting it,
Yeah.
yeah, it
That's basically what happens.
sounds
It's
like
witchcraft.
definitely some witchcraft going on.
Yeah, little gnomes or something going in
Yes, that's
there.
what I'm
Yeah,
picturing. So,
pounding on it. Yep. Yeah. So just interesting things to learn about and read about. Um, so yeah, if you find that interesting, definitely take some time and go learn about it. So
I
um,
think you just gave me an
yeah, I
assignment.
think I did.
At
Yeah.
this point, we usually like to read some user feedback or reviews that we've received. But pretty much everything we've got is just people wondering where we're at and why we haven't released another episode. So uh, that's
Thank
what
you.
we're doing right now.
Where we're at. Yeah, though.
But
Yeah.
we do
Thanks.
appreciate that.
Mhm,
We like to
definitely.
know people are enjoying the podcast enough to want another episode, and we really are trying to record these as often as we can, even though sometimes just life gets in the way. So we still are going strong, and we're going to plan on putting out episodes as long as we can. So with that, I think we'll go ahead and wrap this episode up. Until next time, Mr. Danowski,
All right. I look forward to it.
get your computer fixed,
Indeed.
and
That's
I'll
my assignment.
learn how to hit a record button.
All right.